Suddenly, Godzilla emerges in Tokyo and becomes a threat to humans. Even all countries are imposing the use of nuclear weapons in Japan to eliminate the Godzilla. This movie opens up with the coastal guard worrying about the boat, which has been moving for several hours. Sack of curiosity, they get inside and find no trace of humans, but only they have found an envelope. A sudden tremor appears before they do further research, and the boat turns. As a result, the tunnel broke and water started leaking, which caused problems for the cars. Government officials are taking notice but are unable to identify what is going on here. While discussing the meeting about leaking the tunnel, they pondered the cause. Soon they looked at the volcano eruption in the sea but could not find the exact cause. By taking preventive measures, the government passed an order to evacuate the coast and tunnel immediately. On the other hand, civilians do not take the situation seriously because they're filming and taking this situation for fun, but they need to learn which devastating trouble they have to deal with. After that, another researcher shared that it could be a nuclear submarine or a water eruption. Also, they look at the screen smoke from the sea, but are relaxed because it's not poisonous. One of them is a genius who discloses that it can be a monster, but they consider it a joke and don't pay attention because in hundreds of degrees of atmosphere, the creature can't survive. A few minutes later, they must turn on Yaguchi's suggestion when a huge monster tail appears from the sea. If the tail is giant, they can't imagine the creature's size. To identify the creature, the best biologist is called, but they need to watch the creature before discriminating against another animal. On the other hand, the creature has destroyed the boats on the shore. Something terrible is going to happen. As they had no idea, they decided to call low-ranking officer Hiromi. She casts an eye on the video of the creature and reveals that this creature can crawl on Earth. Again, other specialists made another blunder and did not take it seriously. Just then, the Prime Minister decided to give a speech to calm the audience. He wants to assure the civilians that the situation is under control and they don't need to panic. But his speech is interrupted by an officer who informs him that creatures are inside Tokyo, causing an unimaginable disaster. Aside from this, the Prime Minister is mad because he has transferred the wrong information, and his image can be ruined. By keeping this aside, he calls another emergency meeting to deal with this creature. In the city, people are running away to save their lives, but their deaths are a few steps away, and that is Godzilla. While crawling, the fluid splits from the neck. During the meeting, they are discussing Godzilla, which can turn the city into ashes in a few hours. So they need to exterminate the creature as soon as possible. Before this, they need to evacuate the area because they can't risk the lives of innocent people. The police are taking part in this and doing their best to evacuate the area. People have also panicked and shifted from here. Apart from this, Godzilla crushes large buildings as if they were toys. To deal with Godzilla, they have decided to take help from the self-defense force. Also, they require U.S. government assistance, but must use their forces before taking their help. After World War II, it was going to be the first time they had to use weapons in Tokyo, but they haven't had any choice except to do this. Later, a military force meeting was held by those who also had no idea which creature they would mess with. So they must be fully prepared and equipped to eliminate this creature. First of all, they decide to use an army helicopter to bombard Godzilla with fire. Well-trained officers are chosen for this task, and they move forward to fight with an unidentified creature. At the same time, the creature is lying down on the floor and not moving ahead. But they don't know because it's an alarming situation. He has evolved and stood on his feet with a yell. Officers are also shunned because the creature they have mentioned is totally opposite from this one. Still, they are ready to perform their duties, and the Prime Minister assigns them the duty to abolish the creature, but they can't fire because civilians are there. Realizing the situation, the Prime Minister passes the orders to abort because he can't let his people die. By taking advantage of it, creature is moving ahead and crushing everything that creates a hindrance in his way. After this massacre and destruction, the creature disappeared into the water without any trace. Later, numerous officials in Yaguchi visited the destroyed place and planned to rebuild the city. On the other hand, Yaguchi is preparing to fight back against Godzilla if it emerges from the shore again. For this, he has gathered the team and given them precise information, and they need to figure out the solution. While communicating, Hiromi jumps to the conclusion that Godzilla is gathering the nuclear fusion to stay alive and potent, but one of them, an idiot, made fun of her. Soon he realizes mistakes and found out that Godzilla was attacking the areas where he could have nuclear fusion. While exploring further, they are shunned because Godzilla is consuming tons of energy. Yaguchi shares the situation with officials. He is not quite sure about the radioactive idea, but he decides to take precautionary measures. Also, press conferences are made to evacuate that type of place. At the same time, Yaguchi meets with Japanese-American Kyoko Ann Patterson, who has brought another task for Yaguchi. She offers to locate Goromaki, and in exchange, she is ready to give information about Godzilla. Also, she informs them that the creature's name is Godzilla. So Yaguchi has started to know about Goromaki, a professor exiled from Japan. But he never leaves hope and starts being employed by the American Department of Energy. Further, the boat that is seen in the first scene belongs to him, and he escapes after the incident. Yaguchi informs Kyoko and completes the promise. She shares Goromaki files with them. By going through, they have noticed that Gorimako is studying nuclear waste in the Pacific Ocean. Also, this creature lives in the ocean and can survive on the basis of energy. Just then, he has identified that the energy he is looking for can be gained through Tokyo. Then he moves forward to this place and starts ruining it. Because of the fusion, he needed to move into the sea to cool himself down, and one of the specialists advised that they could freeze the object by injecting blood coagulant. Hiromi interrupts. This process can only freeze him, but not kill him. Still, with this method, they can get rid of this noxious monster. Yaguchi is so devoted to his work that he doesn't have enough time to take a shower, and he is stingy. Before he takes a shower, his assistant breaks the news that Godzilla has reappeared in Sagami Bay. The government has activated and passed the order to evacuate Kamakura immediately. Watching Godzilla, people freaked out and ran away to escape from his clutches. On the other hand, the meeting has been set up, and they watch Godzilla on the monitor. While watching, they realized Godzilla had become bigger than the previous attack. Unfortunately, their enemy is going to give them a tough time. To overpower Godzilla, they are getting help from self-defense, who are already dealing with this creature. By communicating with the high command, the plans are taken off to strike Godzilla. Also, they have decided not to attack its body because Godzilla can release energy. So they made up their minds to aim at the face and legs of Godzilla. By targeting Godzilla, they have started shooting. As they bombard with fire, Godzilla still proves an undiminishing wall. Again, they throw missiles at Godzilla after getting permission from the Prime Minister. They are taken aback because Godzilla has no injuries, and they think his body can be made of iron. Still, they don't lose hope and start attacking with the tankers. This proves beneficial, and without wasting time, they have thrown a missile at Godzilla. The entire city is shaking with the noise of missiles. Godzilla has become furious, and he tears apart the building, and its part falls on the headquarters of the Defense Force. He has also destroyed the tanker. Godzilla is moving ahead to the districts which are not evacuated. Thus, the Prime Minister has passed the order to discontinue the mission. Instead, many of them object because they can obliterate the monster. Still, they are not granted permission because lives are more important than eliminating Godzilla. They have realized things have gone out of their hands because Godzilla is unbeatable. The Prime Minister has to take help from the US, and they are ready because they have sent their plan to eliminate the creature. On the other hand, Yaguchi and other legal advisors are convincing the Prime Minister to leave from here because it can put his life in danger. The Prime Minister is not ready to leave because he can't let the people die in this misery. But Yaguchi makes him realize that his life is more important than anyone else, and if he survives, then he can save Japan. Now he has to agree because he has no choice. Also, they have passed the orders to the team to evacuate, and without wasting a single minute, they have moved from here. On the other hand, Yaguchi is stuck in traffic and looks at the giant Godzilla. Also, American aircraft arrived and started throwing bombs at the Godzilla. With a lethal missile, Godzilla has gotten injured, and his anger is about to burst out. Suddenly, his body has started shining, and everyone is also shocked about what is going to happen next. Just then, Godzilla throws fire from his mouth and starts burning the city into ashes. Not only this, when American aircraft is not restraining from throwing missiles, he bursts out a beam from his mouth and destroys the airplane. Also, he has burned the Prime Minister's plan. Kyoko, who is in the car, knows Godzilla has godlike power and is the toughest challenge for Tokyo. Even the building has been smashing after coming into contact with this beam. After destroying everything, he is moving ahead like the king, who is the ruler of the world. Japan is in a miserable condition because they don't know what is occurring. and the Prime Minister and his mates are also missing. In the following morning, Yaguchi is mad because he has witnessed the destruction in his eyes. Right now, Godzilla is sleeping because he is retrieving his energy, and the Prime Minister has been replaced because the previous one has died. After getting his senses, Yaguchi reunites his team and asks them to do their job with their soul and heart. By doing so, they can take revenge from Godzilla, who has killed their loved ones. Aside from this, Koyoko calls Yaguchi and asks him to set up a meeting with the Prime Minister. In no time, she is in front of the Prime Minister and discloses that many countries want to help Japan deal with Godzilla. But the Prime Minister's secretary responds that Japan does not need any other assistance because they know very well how to deal with their mess. Also, Koyoko offers American scientists who can help them examine Godzilla. This offer he has accepted. Later, American scientists and a Japanese team gathered and sent a drone to keep an eye on Godzilla. But drone has become useless because of the radioactive energy around him. So they have no option except to send humans, and they retreat by getting the DNA of Godzilla. When they go through the DNA, shocking news will emerge. Godzilla could reproduce his species by throwing the fluid. Knowing this, Americans and other countries become worried because this thing can get inside their countries. In addition, Koyoko meets with Yaguchi and shares the situation of other countries that want to help Japan because they are worried about their safety. Apart from this, U.S. officials approach Japan's Prime Minister and ask him to use nuclear weapons in the city. They also offer to rebuild the city when Godzilla has been eliminated from the world. The Prime Minister has no words to defend because their country is the biggest threat. The Prime Minister's secretary makes Yaguchi aware of the situation because both don't want to see Japan in a devastated condition again. To prevent them from using nuclear weapons, Yaguchi has decided to work on the plane. He has asked the team to gather coagulants to freeze Godzilla. Also, they are using their resources to grab coagulants as much as they can. Apart from this, other countries have also given him permission to evacuate Japan within 2 weeks. And after that, he has to use nuclear weapons. According to the orders, they are shifting civilians to the safest place through planes and boats. Meanwhile, an intelligence officer met with Maki, who had left his wife to die only for research purposes, and they exchanged the document to assist their country, and the intelligence officer has gotten the idea that he already knows about this disaster, but cannot get a chance to share his theory. However, Yaguchi is worried because they are unable to reach Maki's remnant graph. They further explore and jump to the conclusion that this is a molecular graph. According to this, the Godzilla cell can be changed, which means their plan is not going to work. But when intelligence examines further, they realize they can freeze the monster to death. To act upon this plan, they need to get permission from the Prime Minister, who has granted it because he is also not in favor of using nuclear weapons. The Defense Force is also ready to assist him, and they are ready to sacrifice their lives for their country. In the meantime, Yaguchi is informed that the coagulant is taking time to reach here, but he uses his resources to arrive here at the right time. At last, the day has arrived when they are ready to mess with Godzilla. Yaguchi gives them inspirational speeches, and they are ready for this death game. As the plane is already prepared, 2 bullet trains have smashed into the feet of Godzilla. Just then, plans are sent to do bombardment on him, but he uses fire and beams to demolish them. Everything is going according to plan. When they realize his radioactive power has finished, they blast the building around Godzilla. He has been crushed under the building, and they have sent a crane that can inject the coagulant into his mouth. While doing this, Godzilla has awoken, and they make him fall again through banging the trains. When he is in control, another crane arrives who has injected coagulant into his body. This time it works, and he has frozen like a statue. Also, everyone is pleased because they have won an improbable mission, and the Prime Minister is requesting the UN to withdraw the order on nuclear weapons. Japan people are glad because they can get back to their homes. And Godzilla started dying because there was no energy that he could absorb to live.